Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings be unto the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. This is the brother Yakanan from the GMS England branch. I have this video here, a real short clip that I want to get into, right? And this is from the Middle East Eye, and it's entitled Melanie Phillips says small hats should use psyops to increase support for Israel. Okay, small hats should use psyops to increase support for Israel, and they've been utilizing psyops, psychological operations, for the longest time, and we've been speaking about it, for the longest time concerning particular psyops that are utilized in society by the left-hand side in order to control the narrative, in order to, paint, a particular picture that they want, the masses to believe. But the problem is their ability to deceive, is waning. Their ability to deceive is declining in these last days because truth, is being declared upon the earth, first and foremost, via, the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, which are the mouthpieces. And you have, whistleblowers, exposing these devils, all right? And in particular, the small hats and their hypocrisy and their bloodthirsty nature, all right? The scriptures tell us in Psalm 73 that violence covereth them as a garment. And the whole world, has seen that. The whole world is seeing how they dealt and are dealing with, the Palestinians, okay? Which that land doesn't belong, to either party. Now, of course, you're going to have genuine, Israelites that are amongst, both parties. But as a whole, them nations are not the true people, of the book. And the scriptures tell us that, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, okay? And that's a reality, in these last days. That's biblical prophecy. That, a bastard people will be dwelling in the land. And the natural people, being you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, would be spread throughout the four corners of the globe via the process of, captivity. All right, we've been scattered. All right, and that's pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. All right. Now, without further delay, I'm going to play, this brief excerpt, and the Lord willing, we'll get into a few scriptures, but this just goes to show that they're being very bold in these last days concerning their agenda, concerning their plans. And it's to the point they don't even care, what you think. Okay, they don't care how it looks. They don't care what you think. They're making it, well aware that they want to control by any means necessary. And, when we delve into, particular subject matter such as psyops, that also, bleeds into false flags. Okay, because they will shed blood and they will sacrifice people in order to control the narrative. All right, and there's many examples of them doing, such things. All right, and recent examples. Okay, you've had all kind of, false flags and T attacks, and this is all connected, to psyops, and to them, needing to control, their image and the way they're perceived by the world. But it's failing. All right, it is failing, miserably, because they've been exposed in these last days. Because the truth is the truth, and Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is exalting, the truth by his men, in these last days. All right. So let me just play this video.
One of the things I say briefly in the book is that what we've all been up against over decades is nothing short of psychological warfare. Now, the Jewish community leadership, both in the diaspora and in Israel, doesn't think like that. It doesn't think that in order to fight psychological warfare, you have to use psychological warfare. There are plenty of people in this country who will not...
Now, they are the number one utilizers, of psychological warfare, of psyops, okay? This is not something that they're just doing it, in retaliation, okay? They are the number one users of psychological warfare, upon the earth, Esau, Edom, as a nation of people, okay? And, they are, as the scriptures tell us, never, trust thine enemy, number one. And the scriptures also say in Psalm 58 and verse 3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So you can't trust these devils or any information that comes out of their mouth, okay? Because these same demons, have lied about who the true children of Israel are upon the earth, okay? And right quick, let me get Psalms the 83rd chapter, okay? Because you've actually, there's a crafty counsel concerning the children of Israel, all right? Against the children of Israel. Now, this is Psalm chapter 83, straight to the point in verse 2, and it says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. Now, it's very important to realize that we have enemies, okay? And our natural enemies, being the Israelites, are the other nations, all right? Outside of who we are as a nation of people. They are all our enemies. They are all set against us, okay? It's in their best interest to keep us in the dark concerning who we are as a people and how we're connected to the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, okay? So, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head, okay? They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, all right? Now, it says in the NLT, they devise crafty schemes against your people. They conspire against your precious ones. And that's exactly what's happened, okay? They've devised crafty schemes against you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. They have kept you in the dark concerning who you really are. And they've put these labels, upon you, these bywords, calling yourself black, calling yourself Latino, Jamaican, Caribbean, so on and so forth. But you are, in actuality, the chosen people of the Most High, all right, of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, okay? So again, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, they have come, let me read that again, Salakia. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, okay? And that's exactly, what they've done. And again, this is biblical prophecy, all right? This had to happen. We had to fall away, all right? That's written in the scriptures, man. The scriptures also tell us that, we would become estranged, from our heritage that Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai gave us, okay? So we had to fall away from who we were. And then in these last days, through the elect of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, that remembrance was stirred up, okay? So again, it says they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. And in the NLT, it says, we will destroy the very memory of existence. And again, that's why, when we declare that we are, the children of Israel, we are the chosen of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, all of a sudden it's a huge problem. Okay? We possibly can't be the people, and, you guys are, anti-Sem and all of this kind of stuff, for even declaring it. Well, hey, that's the hypocrisy and the deception, that these devils are set up in these last days. All right? And that veil, is being lifted through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because we're in the end. As it tells us in Matthew 24 and verse 14, and this gospel shall be preached in all the earth, in all the world, roughly paraphrasing, and then the end shall come. All right? So the truth is out in regards to who the children of Israel actually are, man. All right? And many people are exposed to this information now. Okay? Many people know that these small hats are not the chosen people of the Lord. Many people know that in these last days, man. Okay? Now let's go back to this video.
Not plenty, but there are some who are experts in what's called psyops. They should be used. They can be drawn upon. These are reservoirs of talent and skill that could be used and harnessed to really make a difference. You have to have people.
So you hear what she's saying, like utilizing, particular agencies and experts in the field of, psyops. She said basically this is something that must be tapped into. Okay? This is something that they want to tap into in order to control the narrative. Okay? So again, they're displaying their mindset. They're displaying how far they're willing to go and keep going in order to maintain control of the people's minds. And this is only going to get worse. They're gonna go all out on these psychological operations, man. They're gonna go all out on the false flags. Okay? Because this is all leading, to the New World Order system. And controlling how you think and what you think and how information is delivered to your mind. All right? As the scriptures tell us, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. We know what this is all about.
Nature and extent and dimensions of the challenge, and who are prepared to buck all the conventional wisdom of all the community leaders who have led us into this appalling situation of being relatively undefended for decades.
Right, so these devils are being exposed, man. All right, let's get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 10, and it reads, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not." All right, so Yahweh Shem Yahushai has made Esau bare, exposed in these last days, man. Okay, they are completely exposed. The whole world sees the wicked nature, of Esau, Edom. Okay, and in particular, the small hats. The whole world sees them. They've been exposed. All right, and great hate is growing upon the earth, for these small hats. Okay, and they're going overdrive with these psychological operations. And, pushing out these narratives in the media. They're going all out. All right? Now, the scriptures also say, let's get it in Job chapter 5, because this is all going to go against them in due time. None of these techniques that they're using is actually going to benefit them in the long run. All right? Now it says, Job chapter 5 and verse 12, "He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. All right. Now in the NLT it says he frustrates the plans of schemers, so the work of their hands will not succeed. All right. So the work of their hands will not succeed. Okay. All of these psychological operations and these false flags and all of these things they're doing in society, at the end of the day, it's not going to benefit them. All right, the work of their hands are not going to succeed. All right, the Lord is going to throw a spanner in their works. Okay, now it says, verse 13, he traps the wise in their own cleverness, so their cunning schemes are thwarted. Okay, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Their cunning schemes is actually going to, reverse upon them. Okay, it's actually going to do a disservice unto them and their whole agenda and them as a nation of people. Okay, and that's why it tells us in the book of Obadiah, their pride have deceived them, them that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock. All right, they're deceived by their pride. They really think they can pull this off. Okay, they really think that they can pull this off and get away with it. Well, that's not going to happen. All right, the judgment of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Kodash is coming down upon you devils, man. All right, and you can't run forever. All right, the Lord is coming for you. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it off there. Lord willing, this video has been edifying, and until next time, I'll say shalom.